Hey guys, Tony.Vega here. If you've been watching or listening to my content, YouTube or the podcast Japan Station, find it wherever you get your podcast for the audio only version. You may remember that I walked the Tokaido Road from Kyoto to Tokyo. This was last year, September to October. It took me about 29 days, 500 kilometers, and I'm legally blind. So it was a crazy, crazy journey, a lot of challenges along the way. I documented this all on my social media on X, Twitter, but also I shot a video series that's here on the YouTube channel playlist, link down below. So this was not cheap, right? It cost me over $5,000 to fund this and to do this, and I had to get sponsors. My main sponsor was the Hawaii Association of the Blind. I'm a member. As I said, I'm legally blind. I've been a member for, I think, 10 years now, and I asked them to help me out. They donated $5,000 because they believed in my cause, which was to raise awareness of people with visual impairments, to show them the kinds of challenges that we face, the fact that not all people that are blind are completely blind. There's a range of amounts that you can see, right? There's a whole range from people that can't see anything to people that can see some level of light, to people that have no central vision like me, to people that have no peripheral vision, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So also the white cane and all this stuff, like this is all stuff that people organically learned about through my video series in the Tokaido Challenge. And because of that, they decided to support me because we had the same kind of mission. So I did this, I came back, and then in March of this year, so I think just recently, just a few weeks ago, as of the time of the release of this, they had their state convention here in Hawaii. So I had to do a speech, and I went up, and I think it was about 16 minutes, and I talked about how this Tokaido Challenge thing that I did raised awareness of people with visual impairments. And I recorded this. I shot a video of it, and I recorded the audio. Now, this was through a microphone. It was amplified. So the audio isn't great, but I am going to share the video with you. So you can take a look at what I had to say. Hopefully you find it interesting. This is about me, my journey, and my effort to, raise awareness about people with visual impairments. It's something very important to me. So take a look, take a listen. Hope you enjoy it. Don't forget to subscribe on the podcast or the YouTube side, like, comment. And if you want to support what I do, you can go over to the Patreon or the Ko-fi for a one-time donation. Links down below in the show notes and the description on YouTube. I'll be back with a normal episode next time. But in the meantime, here's my talk from March 2024 at the Hawaii Association of the Blind's State Convention. But, one of the things that we were talking about earlier today and throughout really is, raising awareness of the blind and visually impaired community, like who we are, the variety that exists in our community, and what we are capable, the fact that, maybe some things are more difficult for us. And they absolutely are. Not maybe, they are. But, we find ways to accomplish the things that we want to accomplish, whether it's through technology, whether it's through the cane. Sometimes it is by asking people for help, but we still are able to do so much of what we want to do, and in many cases we can do it even better than some sighted people. So, we do some things that some sighted people may not ever want to think to or be capable of doing, and that is something, I think. I did something kind of crazy, but I think it falls within that category. What I did, and I'll be telling you a little bit about, the details and the challenges and the ups and downs and all that happened. But, I'm going to kind of cut to the chase here and relate it back to this theme that we've been talking about. I documented this entire journey from Kyoto to Tokyo, roughly 300 miles, 500 kilometers. It took me about 29 days to walk, from, one side of Japan, what's called West Japan. Thank you. And East Japan, Tokyo, former capital of Japan, Kyoto, to Tokyo along this road called the Tokaido Road. Very historically important, and I could spend an hour talking about the history, but I won't. It's an important road. But the point is, I did this over the course of 29 days, but I didn't just
do it and not tell anyone about it. I was shooting videos the entire time and uploading them as I was on the road. Sometimes one, sometimes two, sometimes three, sometimes 5 videos, all kinds of videos documenting, the challenges and things that were, happening along the way. And I was speaking in English and Japanese to both sides of my following. I'm very active on X, formerly Twitter. I also have a presence on YouTube. I have a lot of followers that speak only Japanese, and I have a lot of English-speaking followers as well. Just to let you know, on X, currently I'm over 8,500 followers. That's not like huge, but it's a decent amount, right? And so I was showing the entire journey, and people didn't know me as a lot of people knew me as a person producing content about whether it's digital art or Japan, but they weren't perhaps aware of the fact that I'm legally blind, or I have basically no central vision, just peripheral vision. The fact that I use a cane when I'm walking around, especially outside places that I'm not familiar with, they didn't know about this, and this was an opportunity to educate them. And in total, I think I wasn't able to count everything, but I probably got around 100,000 impressions with all the content that I was putting out online. A lot of comments, and of course likes and positive, comments and all that. And I also documented the whole thing, have been editing and putting it onto my YouTube so that it's easier to search. It's just there for posterity and podcasts and all this stuff. It's all there. It's all available. Japankyo, you can find the JAPA and KYO, look that up. But, yay, self-shilling. But the point is, it's a story, right? It's a story. It's this individual. When you throw facts at somebody, right? You say there's this amount of blind people, this and that, that's all important, and especially for us, we appreciate those things. But for the average person that's scrolling through X or whatever it is, they want an engaging video. They want something that's going to suck their attention. And to some extent, I was able to produce that. The final video that I put out announcing that I arrived in Tokyo at this place called Nihonbashi, that ended up going a little bit viral. I got over 50,000 impressions. A lot of people that had never interacted with me, that I had no idea, I didn't know about them. They were saying what an inspiring story, this and that. So, there were some videos that really popped off, and was able to get this thing that I was doing out, and in the process show oh, look, there's this person with a visual impairment that did this incredible thing that most people would probably never even do. So, what were some of the challenges that I faced along the way? Every single day was something, right? Every single day there was something that would come up, and the most common thing was getting lost, just absolutely lost. And I was totally expecting this. So as I said, the route is about 300 miles, 500 kilometers, and when you look up how long does this take to do, what Google will tell you is 20, 21 days, something like that. I knew that was not going to be the case for me, because I knew I was going to be getting lost. I was just using Google Maps and just going by what it told me. And many times it was telling me to go some routes that probably were not the best routes. Here's just a couple examples. So for one, there was this one day I was in between Aichi Prefecture, Shizuoka Prefecture, if that means anything to you. If it doesn't, don't worry. Basically, it's kind of a more rural area. And Google was telling me, go down this way. And it was this road, it was a paved road. Either side there were rice fields, right? So I'm in a fairly rural area. And then I'm walking. I get to this dead end in the road. And the phone, Google Maps is telling me, make a left. So I make a left, and then just a few steps, I get to this point in the road where there's a rope across it. And I go, okay, I can't go left, right? I can't do this. I don't know why there's a rope. Maybe it's private property. Maybe there's construction. I don't know what it is, but I'm not going to step over this rope. So I go back to that little intersection. It's just a few steps, and I'm thinking okay, what do I do here? I don't know what to do, because the phone keeps telling me to go that way. So I decide, all right, I'm going to walk back to the main road. So it's 10 minutes, out back to where the cars are passing by, and I try to walk around this area. So I make a right, and I try to loop around it, but I get to this point where I can't go further. The phone keeps telling me to go back, and there's no way to get around this area. So I walk back to this rice field area, And there's nobody around. I can't ask like people for help. I'm like wondering, okay. And then off in the distance, off in like the rice field, I hear like a tractor or something, like some kind of machinery, right? And so the only thing I can do at that point is yell out, "Excuse me," in Japanese, right? Thankfully I can speak Japanese. Like, "Excuse me!" And this guy answers back, right? This older gentleman, and we're kind of yelling back and forth. I'm trying to get to Toyohashi, and you know, like that's a weird thing to say. Like all of a sudden, like it's probably like 10 kilometers away. Like why would you be in this middle of this rice field? This foreigner with like a white cane. Like it must be a strange thing for him to see. But we're kind of yelling back and forth. Eventually, he comes up to the road, and he's like, "Oh, you got to go this way, this way, this way." And he like shows me. What happened was at that dead end that I ran into, I had to make a slight right, and then there was a left that I would make. So Google Maps was, I guess, maybe kind of right, but I had to like kind of veer off a little bit to the right and then make a left. And you know, when you can't really see the map, you can't see that fine detail, right? You're just going by like what the phone is telling you, turn left and whatever. And it probably took me an hour or close to an hour to do this. So like most days I was doing about 20 kilometers, about 12, 13 miles. And you know, I would leave 7, 8 a.m. from my hotel and get to where I was going like 4 or 5, like a couple times like 5:30 p.m. And that's right when it's basically dark. So I was getting to the train station right as it was dark. And you know, if I was sighted, I would have probably been getting to these destinations at like 2 p.m. You know, and that is, you know, that is annoying. That is annoying. Knowing that, you know, in theory I could be faster, but that was part of the journey. Like understanding that every single day I was dealing with these challenges. Every single morning I would get up and think, okay, what's going to happen today, right? Like, I don't know. Like, am I going to walk out the hotel room and it's going to be raining, right? Like, I have a poncho, but I'd rather not be walking in the rain. Thankfully, there was only like one day when the weather was like kind of bad, but you know, I didn't know what was going to happen along the way. You know, another time, there was this point where I got to basically a crossroads. I had to either choose to walk through this like mountain pass area, which was like the old Tokaido, like cobblestones through like a hiking thing, not safe. And I like hiking and all that, but I'm not going to do that by myself. That's just not safe. The other option was a tunnel that, from what I could gather, was not for pedestrians. I was probably not going to be able to go through that tunnel. So I got to basically a highway rest stop, and I was walking through these areas that were just like cars and rural areas. Sometimes there weren't even sidewalks, right? I was walking on the white line. There was a wall on my right, like I was bumping up on the wall, and trucks were kind of like, you know, zooming by me on the right. There was no sidewalk, right? And I'm literally on the white line that ends like, this is the end of the road. You shouldn't be walking here. But, you know, and so I'm doing through these areas, blah, 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 and I get to this highway rest stop. And my options are ask somebody, like basically hitchhike, or try to get a taxi, right? And after getting a feel for like who's coming in and all that, like I just felt too awkward. Like I was probably like 15 minutes trying to like decide what I'm gonna do. It felt too awkward to ask to hitchhike to just some random person. So I ended up calling a taxi, and I had to, you know, pay like $30-something, and we went through the tunnel in the car, and that was probably like 7 kilometers, 8 kilometers that I had to skip because there was no other option, you know. So there were a couple areas like this that, you know, I just had to deal with that, right? Like, and for me, like, that was something that was beyond my control. It was kind of irritating because I wanted to walk the entire way, but, you know, that's life, right? That's, you know, and sometimes we got to deal with these things, right? We have to find a way to overcome these challenges, and sometimes it's not something that is to our liking, but we got to deal with it. And again, I was documenting this the entire way. Like, there was one night where I was in this kind of out-of-the-way hotel. It was pitch black. It was rural. There was very little lighting. I felt very uncomfortable going out to try to find somewhere to eat. So I didn't go have dinner that night. I just had like a couple cakes, whatever, that some people that I met in Kyoto gave me, and that was my dinner. I documented it. I told that story. You know, and it wasn't a huge thing, but it's all these little things every single day. It's something. You know, here's this one other story that actually I think perfectly illustrates this example of spreading awareness. You know, after I would go out and walk for the day, I would get back on a train. I would go back to my hotel because, you know, I was walking through rural areas. Not everywhere had hotels, so I had to walk and get on the train, go back to my hotel. The next morning I would go back to where I would leave off the previous day, and then I would repeat that process until I moved to the next hotel. So at the end of the day, I get on the train and start going to my hotel, the train station where my hotel is. And I'm on my phone. Now, I use magnification on my phone, so I do a triple tap, and I can usually, read whatever I have to do. And because I was documenting this in real time on social media, I would post stuff while I was on the train, catch up on what people were saying and all that. And when I got off the train, this guy starts talking to me, right? Some Japanese guy talks to me in very difficult to understand English, but after a few seconds of interacting with him, basically he was very unpleasant and rather basically he ended up kind of harassing me in the sense that he was saying, like, I saw you on your phone on social media, I saw you have a cane. A cane is for blind people, you're not blind, right? And so, obviously that pissed me off, but I tried to explain to him in Japanese, but he didn't want to listen. Right? He didn't want to listen. He just, went off, and eventually he got fed up and left, and whatever, it is what it is. Like, I want to make this perfectly clear. This is one isolated incident. Like, I met so many incredible people around Japan that helped me. They saw me, hey, the sidewalk is about 10, let me walk you over to the other side. And that was like just about everybody in Japan. So it was an incredibly wonderful experience from that regard. This is just one person. This is not a reflection of Japan. This is a reflection of this person. And what I did when I went back to my hotel, I shot a video. I shot a video, and I explained this in English and in Japanese, and that got a lot of attention from my followers. I got a lot of positive comments. I explained, look, the white cane doesn't mean that you can't see anything, right? There's a variety of people that use the white cane. Yes, it can be used for mobility, and that's, one purpose of the cane, but it's also just to let people around you know, like, hey, maybe you might want to step out of the way, or if you're on a bicycle headed full speed at this person, maybe you should, go around them because they might not see you, right? So there's a variety of meanings and purposes to the cane, and I use this as an education moment. And that video specifically, the one that I posted to my personal X account, got, I think, over like 7,000 impressions and a lot of positive comments saying, like, I wasn't aware of that, thank you for teaching me that, Tony. And I've put this since on my YouTube and talked about this experience. So, that was an education moment. So even though it was an unpleasant moment, it was a moment to educate. There were, tons of interesting things that happened along the way and daily challenges, but ultimately, this is, I can't do this faster than, a sighted person. I can't, shoot the most incredible videos of this experience, but I have a unique perspective, and I have a unique way of doing it, and I have a unique story. And through telling this story, through showing it through my actions, I think I was able to engage people and raise awareness of the challenges that some of us may face, and how we overcome them, and the fact that so maybe it takes me 2 or 3 more hours to get to my destination, to walk those 20 kilometers, but I got there, right? And at the end of the day, at the end of these 29 days, I got to my destination, and even to this day, I still get people like, oh, I was watching you at that time. I didn't comment, but I was watching you. So, I've had already 2 requests to do interviews on other people's podcasts, and one is coming up, I think. So, this has been a great opportunity to, of course, for myself as a content creator, yeah, it's great to get that exposure, but also to, raise that awareness of the blind and visually impaired community and in general. So, I want to say, thank you so much to the Hawaii Association of the Blind, who was the main sponsor of this. They were an incredible help, and I truly appreciate the funding that you guys provided for this. And I firmly believe that it had a positive impact, overall, through using my following, the people that are interested in what I do, to spread this, beyond Hawaii, right? Like outside in Japan and also so. And I think this will lead to other opportunities, and I fully intend to keep trying. Maybe sometimes kind of crazy stuff, but safely. but in a way that engages people in an organic way and gets that story to them that will, you present a good story and then they remember that, right? Like if you present a good movie about basketball to a person that doesn't care about basketball, if the movie's good enough, they might start liking basketball. That certainly happened with me with like anime and stuff like that. So, that's kind of been my approach as a content creator. So again, thank you so much to the Hawaii Association of the Blind, and thank you to you guys for your support. I really, really, really appreciate that. Thank you.